Thank you. Further debate. Minister of Citizenship and Immigration.
Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker. I appreciate the opportunity to speak to the motion, a motion that I believe is completely self-serving on the part of the official opposition. Shameful that they are trying to besmirk the integrity of an honourable and hard-working, decent man like the Minister of Energy. It's an attempt to assassinate the character of a man who has devoted years of his life to public service and who has done so honourably and selflessly. Opposition efforts are even more shameful considering their role in the cancellation of the Mississauga and gas plants and the Oakville gas plant. As the member for Mississauga South, I'm very familiar with the community's concerns about local air quality. Important for all members to be aware of the context behind the issue in Mississauga. It sounds as though the PCs have chosen to forget about the role they played. So it's important to remind them, remind the House and those watching what has happened. My community has been voicing concerns about air quality for many years. Concerned about the levels of particulate matter, nitrogen oxides and sulfur oxides.
Minister? I'll remember the member from Nepean Carleton that I just said before she walked in, the next person that speaks out loud will get their last warning. Since you didn't hear it, now you know. Next time, last warning. Continue.
Mr. Speaker, we on this side of the House sat here quietly and listened. I'm asking you guys to do the same, please. My community was concerned about the particulate matter in their community. When the community came together to voice their concerns, the community and the government of the day listened. In fact, in 2000, then Ministry of Environment commissioned a Clarkson airshed study. Results from that study were released between 2006 and 2008 and confirmed that our airshed was stressed. So the community took the next step. They gave of their own volunteer time to participate in the Clarkson Airshed Advisory Committee. They pushed for a task force to examine the problem and provide solutions. Our government listened and formed the Southwest GTA Air Quality Task Force under the leadership of Dr. David Balzilli in 2009. They produced a report to the Minister of the Environment in 2010. The report made it clear that the local airshed was already stressed. It noted the need to think about the cumulative impact of multiple emitters. It reinforced local concerns about introducing new emitters to the airshed. This led our community to become the site for a new pilot project, which will help model a national air quality management system. So years of effort, science on their side, and the recommendations of experts in hand, the people of Mississauga and Oakville worked hard to protect their local air quality, and they made great progress. And it truly was a community effort, supported by several great local leaders. Leaders like Mississauga Mayor Hazel McCallion, former Ward 1 Councillor Carmen Corbison, current Ward 1 Councillor Jim Tovey, Ward 2 Councillor Pat Mulland, Oakville Mayor Rob Burton, community leaders and longtime advocates like Dr. Boyd Upper and Julie Desjardins, a strong advocate in the community, Dorothy Tomiak of Marinette, Wendy Davies, who that side of the House may know, was chair of the Petro-Canada Public Liaison Committee. There was others, like Mike Douglas and Irene Gabon, and Steve Thompson and Tony Jones of CHIP. And thousands more wrote letters and signed petitions. They attended rallies, they called their politicians and requested meetings. The community was united. City Council was united, including all other councillors like my apprentice, Frank Dale, Eve Adams, Carolyn Parrish, Nando Inunyaki, Katie Mahoney, Pat Sato, Sue McFadden, and George Carlson. Even so, electricity planners were saying that local demand for power was growing, citing and remembering the blackouts that had occurred years earlier. The previous government knew this all too well. They had done little to secure the integrity of the grid. That's why the former PC government approved the environmental assessment to site a gas-fired power plant in Clarkson in the southwest area of my riding next to Oakville. But our government was always looking at ways to ensure that we had the generation capacity we needed, especially when we also wanted to stop burning dirty coal. That brings us to the Lakeview coal plant, which was on our waterfront for decades. It was the worst polluter in the GTA. The community rejoiced when our government tore it down. I was proud to fight alongside our community as we pledged that Lakeview would never again host another power generation. Instead, we're going to revitalize that precious lakefront. But after years of PC neglect of our electricity system, there was indeed a lot of work to do to keep the lights on. So the OPA contracted the Oakville facility to meet energy demands of the time. But in October of 2010, the government determined that the project would not proceed. It did so for two reasons. There was clear evidence that it no longer required a facility in Oakville to meet energy needs. And in response to the significant concerns voiced by the community, including Mayor Rob Burton, MPP Kevin Flynn, MPP Ted Chudley, and many others of our community, science told us that our airshed was stress. The point of impingement of emissions from the Oakville plant would adversely affect our and other communities. The government decision was even supported by the leader of the PC, Tim Hudak, who said, and I quote now Mr. Ched Hudley, the member from Halton, "The people of Oakville have told you they don't want the proposed gas-fired power plant, and I agree with them." In the Globe and Mail, the leader of the opposition, Mr. Hudak, says, "We've opposed these projects in Oakville and Mississauga." And now they're against the government's decision. If so, they have to come clean to the people of Oakville and Mississauga. In April of 2005, before I was elected, Greenfield South Power Corporation was contracted to develop and operate a gas plant in Mississauga. Since I was first elected to represent the good people of Mississauga South in 2007, I've been consistent. I opposed the location of that plant and believed it was poorly sited. The people of my community did not want any new emitters constructed. They were concerned about the local air quality, and they needed to be protected. I shared their concerns. My first responsibility is to the people who sent me here, and I was proud to stand with them consistently to protect our air, including